Hi, everybody. My name is Irene Duford, and I'm here with Loan Officer Team Training Podcast. And I'm here with my really good friend, Jen Conley. We've known each other for 12 or more years, and we met at a mortgage marketing animal event with Carl White. And we had a good time, didn't we, Jen?
You did, absolutely.
So
I'm very
Jen is,
grateful for that day that I met you.
it was a great day. I appreciate you so much. And we've had so much fun over the years, just getting to know each other, talking about business, talking about life, doing fun things together. And Jen is a top producer. She is an amazing originator, an amazing marketer, an amazing loan getter. That's what I like to say. And she does a great job in her town of Chillicothe, Ohio. But what's great about you, Jen, is that you're not just in Chillicothe, you're all over, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes. So tell us, did it start out that way?
No, not at all. I mean, when I started, in 2005, I was at a broker shop. We did triggers. We never spoke to anybody. We never met anyone. We were just doing loans all over the country. I don't think we even did Ohio at that time. You know, obviously the crash happened, that place closed. And as time went on, I hopped around a lot, went to a lot of different companies trying to find the right spot. And then I ended up at Hometown Lenders, which I've been here for 10 years, which is, I started Hometown and Freedom Club the same month. So I've done them both simultaneously. We were just doing Ohio, but as I got my team under control and got that system and process in place, we started to reach out into other places, recruit people, get loan officers in other markets to help grow our team. So, I know it's sometimes hard. I think COVID helped with that, with people realizing they didn't have to just work where they are.
I think so
think
too.
one good thing that came out of COVID, but I think still we all kind of just get in our routine and we just do what we do and we don't really think about that. But it is 100% possible to do other markets from wherever you're at. And I'm in a little small town in Ohio.
And I think it's great. And you have a pretty good market share where you are too, don't you?
Yeah. People always say, well, you've got it easy, right? You don't have any competition, but that's all relative. So yes, I have less competitors, lending competitors, but I also have less deals to get. I have less agents to market. So it really is, if you look at the map, I mean, you've got Columbus and Cincinnati, and then like all of Southern Ohio is less than 500,000 people. So if you take the two cities out, so it's all relative, percentage wise, I've got the same amount as everyone else. It's the same everywhere you go, where people are people, they want to, I still have competitors that say things that to win deals that aren't true, even though there's, nine or 10 of us, however many there are, but I also have to compete with the internet. So,
Yes.
that's my biggest competitor is the internet. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of, that's something that's out there for all of us, no matter what market you're in.
Yes. And so how long have you been in the mortgage business now?
Since 2005, so 17 years. This is my
Okay.
17th. I think, gosh, we're recording this, what, the 18th of November? I think I got my license the end of November. So
Okay.
this is my 17th month too, year month. And obviously when I got in, it was, everything that could use the ink pen got a loan.
Yes. Fax machines, right?
Yes, yes. And we did everything paper, we overnighted packages for people to sign and all
Yes.
the crazy things that happened. And going through the crash, I do a radio show and I do a lot of marketing and I talk about the crash all the time. And I know people are sick of hearing me talk about it. I jokingly say I think I've got PTSD from it because I talk about it all the time. But I'm glad it happened. If it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have completely changed my business model. We were a refi shop with doing trigger leads and mail and all those things that probably would have eventually been phased out anyway for us. At least the
Yeah.
mail would have. I mean, I went through a really bad time after that. 2008, 9, 10. When I met you in 10, I was still broke. I mean, I lost everything. I will never forget. So I didn't go to that first event because of Carl. I didn't even know who Carl was.
I remember you telling me that.
So I went because I had been following Frank and Brian for a couple of years.
Yes.
Brian Stevens with back then it was Think Big Work Small.
I remember that. That was fun.
Yeah. And I wanted to meet them. And so I had a partner at the time and I said, hey, I want to go to this event, knowing we didn't have the money, knowing we didn't have the money. And he said, if you think it'll help our business, oh yeah, do it. And I was like, oh, no, I got to go. So I hadn't flown forever. I'd never flown by myself. I hadn't done anything really on my own. I got married pretty young, had kids pretty young, and I just was always with my husband, or I had been with my family prior to that. So
Right.
really scary thing for me to do, to go to the airport, go through, and this was after 2001. So go through TSA and all that. Like I hadn't flown since all of that. And I had never went to an event ever in the mortgage business. So I was in the business 5 years before I went to my first event. It was a really, really big deal for me. I've always been like me, like anybody that knows me knows how I am. Like I'm pretty loud and bold, and I was that, but I was that at home. Like I'd never been outside of my area.
Yeah.
So it was really scary for me. I know people think that I don't get scared, but I was really scared. And I was in the business when it was like, don't talk about what you do, don't share this, don't share that. And I always tell the story that what you asked me, what do you do to get business? I'm like, always mail. And you're like, oh, can I see your flyer? I'm like, no. Give me that. Because at that time, to me, everybody was still a competitor,
Yes.
So it was, and I'm super, super competitive. So I want to win. I always want to win. So it was a life-changing experience for me just to go to that first event, and then learn how to do video there. And that's where I started video. I mean,
yes. And look where it's gotten you.
I mean, Frank made me do that homework that Roberto gave us. I was like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. And Frank's like, oh no, you're doing it. And so he recorded that. I just sent that to him and Carl. I think it was this month, maybe. No, it was last month. It was October of 2010 when we met. And it popped up on my newsfeed on Facebook. And I sent it to Carl and Frank. And I was like, this video is terrible. Like, and I sent it to my boss too, which I'm sitting in his office right now recording this. And I sent it to him, and he's like, that's still better than most people's today. I'm like, no, it's terrible. Like it was so bad, but that's where I started doing all that. And I had never done it, didn't have the confidence to do it. And Frank, God love him, he was like, you have the personality to do it. You need to do this. And so I did that. And then we had video marketing roundup after that. So I went to that in Dallas quickly after, and had my little $99 camera that I couldn't afford to buy, but I bought it anyway.
Right.
And I just started doing it.
Yeah.
And that's really, we're just coming off a Freedom Club event that we just had
in Nashville. Yep.
And so I think Tammy Saul shared that video of just do it. Like, it's not the Nike one. It's the, I don't know. We just actually played that video on our board meeting this morning that I had for my company, because
oh, great.
It is very true. Like you just have to do what needs done.
Yes.
And in this business right now, there is no message that is more important than that. My president and I talked about this last night. I said, it's really easy to just sit back and blame the market and blame the rates and blame the this and blame the that. In 2005, we blamed the crash and the appraisers and the no value and the no jobs. You can always find an excuse. It is always not hard. It is not hard to be negative. On my podcast, my first one that we did, I did with Jill, and we talked about that. Jill's my ops manager. It is the easy thing to do in life is to be negative and be like everybody else.
Yes.
Be the positive person and be the light in the situation. That's the hard stuff. It's not easy to be happy. And people think it is. Oh, well, she's happy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It takes work.
You have to choose it every single day.
Yes,
especially I feel like in this business, you have to choose to be happy. You have to choose to continue on, because there's days where you just don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
I mean, good market. We just came off of the past 2 years that were crazy, right? And I kept saying, this isn't real. This is not real. Like this is not going to last forever. Even then, it was just different hard.
Yes. It was hard. It was a different kind of hard. It was more of a hard, how are we going to get the right team in place? How are we going to get enough people working here to handle all the volume that's coming in? I remember talking with, as a coach, and you coach as well, I remember talking with people that were branch managers that were having a hard time finding people, loan officers that were having a hard time finding people, and people were asking for exorbitant amount of money, and they were paying it because they didn't have a choice. They needed help, good help. They needed great help. and they were paying it.
I had a conversation a couple months ago, probably with one of our underwriting team leads, and our company is very branch focused and loan officer focused, and they truly look at it as we're the customer, and they understand that they're providing a service to us that we pay for, and so their whole mindset is customer service, and they treat us like Chick-fil-A, like they want to be like the Chick-fil-A of the mortgage business. And so I was talking to a team lead, and we were talking about stuff, and she said, "Well, but I wouldn't want your job. Your job is so much harder than mine." And I was like, you know what? It's just different hard.
It is.
Their job is hard. Our job is hard. Accounting's job is hard. Post-closing's job is hard. It's just different hard.
It
doesn't
is.
make it better or worse or more important or not. They're all hard, especially in a market like this. And so, but I think that choosing to be in it and be happy with it is really, really important. And I think that in this time, we're going to see a lot of people that were doing it maybe not for the right reasons leave. I feel like, and I'm sure you feel the same way, if I could make it through 2005, 8, or 2008, 9, 10, 7, I can make it through anything. This market doesn't bother me. I really like markets like this.
I do too. I think it's a challenge. I think it's a real challenge. So I'm not originating currently, but I talk to originators every day as a coach, and it is a challenge. It's a different kind of challenge, but most people are looking at it as a problem. A lot of loan originators are looking at it as a problem. Oh my gosh, it's not the same as it was. And they're crying around. But the people that we coach in the Freedom Club, they are learning they've adjusted now, right? Because it was an adjustment, a little bit of an adjustment. And now they're just on fire to go and take the challenge of the market and run with it. And that's what I love about markets like this. If you're competitive, you can do it.
Yes. And for me, like probably something not wired correctly in my brain, this is when I'm my best. So when I am in a position where I feel like I've got to fight my way out of it, is when I do better. When it's easy, when it's falling out of the sky, I get lazy. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't. Like when loans are falling out of the sky and they're not hard to get, I get lazy.
Most people do.
Yeah, I don't have to work as hard. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
The one good thing that I have, and for me, is I'm a very quick implementer and adjuster. Yes. So when this started, I didn't wait until June and July and August to say, oh, we're in a mess. Like it was in April. I'm like, all right, I'm doing this. Like I very quickly pivoted. Yes. And I think that because I thrive in chaos a little bit, it's very easy for me to make those adjustments, but I could make those adjustments because of my coaching with the Freedom Club. So Carl, if you haven't heard my story, when I started coaching with him, putting in place saving money was part of the plan and still is, to save 25%. And so I was doing everything he told me to do. I was changing the team, doing this, doing that, but I wasn't doing the money. And so finally he was just like, if you don't have your savings account by the next time we talk, I'm not going to continue to coach you because you're not listening to me.
Yep.
And that was the single hardest thing that I had to do in the Freedom Club, save money, which people listening are probably like, what? But like, I like to spend money, And so I was like, what? I don't want to save money. But now here we are 10 years later, and I don't care about this market.
It doesn't bother you because you have the savings. You have the ability to have a cushion.
And for me, I think the real freedom in the Freedom Club, the real freedom is that.
I agree.
Saving money so you don't have to work with people you don't want to work with.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about a bad market because you have saved your money correctly and you have not, overspent or, whatever, you have managed your credit and your money correctly. And to me, that's the real freedom, because I have fired agents. I have now went through a downturn in the market and hasn't changed my life, not one single bit.
Yes.
And so I think that for me is what the real freedom is. And all the other things come with it too. Time and, opportunity, like all those are important, but saving that money changed everything for me, because then I wasn't needing every deal to close. Then I wasn't stressed about if something went wrong. I wasn't stressed if someone said no. I wasn't stressed if an agent quit using me. Like I was like, okay, next. Okay, next. I'll find somebody else. You're just not my people. That's okay.
In 2006, 7, 8, I made a commitment to myself. Now, I was originating at the time, and I made a commitment to myself that I would never be in that position again. That the next time we have anything happen in the mortgage business that was not good, that I would not be in that position. And thank goodness that has happened. And I'm grateful that I'm not in that position as well. So once you go through something like that, it sticks with you, doesn't it? You either learn from it or it defeats you, one or the other.
I think I've seen people that I thought that I know went through it, but then I saw them as the market got better and better and better and better, and then exponentially better, go back to those habits that we all had like pre the crash.
Yeah.
And I think I said this the other day to someone, I probably missed out on a lot because I haven't forgotten. Mm-hmm. So I probably didn't go on as many vacations as I could have because I didn't want to spend the money. I probably didn't buy some of the things I could have bought because I didn't want to spend the money, because that is always in the back of my head that it's coming. And so that's a me thing. I'm not saying that's a healthy thing or a healthy way to be, but I think now some people that I think have been in the business forever went through the crash, didn't change or got back into those habits, because money is just habits. Money is all habit, all of it. Yes. I don't care. You can make $50,000 a year or $1 million a year, but if your habits aren't good, a $50,000 person can be more rich than $1 million person.
Boy, that's the truth. How many millionaires do you know that were janitors or teachers or people, they just knew how to manage their money well?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so I think I've seen a lot of people though that I thought, I know went through it, but they just went back to those habits. And so I was lucky enough to have Carl, and then even my ops manager, Jill, like she's really good with money. And so she helped me do that. She helped me save and get that focus. And so I think it's really important that if you aren't saving now, that you start, even though you're making way less money, probably start saving. I don't care if it's $5 a week, start getting that habit in place. So when this market goes back, and it will. It always does.
Yes.
And you know what? I don't think this one's going to last. It's not going to last as long as it did before. I've gone back and looked at some stuff. I mean, that was years. That was years going through that. This is not going to be years.
No, it's not. We're in a season right now. Just like, you have a season when you have babies and they're keeping you up at night and you still love them. You still love it, just like we still love the business, but you have a season, and we're in a season right now, and we're going to be in a different season 6 months from now and 6 months later from now. And we just have to keep that in mind, that it feels like it's going to last forever, but it's not going to last forever. So this is the time though. You and I both agree that this is the time to put those foundations in place. And I was talking to somebody I was coaching the other day, and I said, okay, so you have one house built. Now set another foundation and build another house. And if you want to build a skyscraper, let's build a skyscraper.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the one thing about having a great team that has made a difference for you, Jen?
For me, having that team in place, and I grew it. I think that a lot of people, once you build something, maybe somebody comes into the Freedom Club or they meet you for the first time and they're like, oh, well, she's got it all together. She's always had it all together. No, not. No, wrong answer. So you're looking at me 10 years in of a team.
Exactly.
So, and it has grown. At first I had a processor and Jill, and then I had, then little by little we grew it. So you don't go from A to Z. You just don't. It's not possible. Ego makes people want to do that. I think that's one thing too in this business. You got to keep your ego in check. And be self-aware enough to know when you're making decisions and doing things from ego, because ego will bankrupt you.
Yes, it will.
Morally and financially.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that we're salespeople, right? So we all have a bit of an ego. Can you keep it in check?
Yes.
But I think that for me, having a team and it's not always been perfect. I've been, I think, luckier than a lot of people about the longevity of my team and how they work. But I've had people not work out and had to terminate people or whatever. But it allows me to go out and do what I do best, which is make the phone ring. And my highest and best use is not working on sticking a round peg in a square hole to get one deal done. My highest and best use is going on the radio and talking to thousands of people, or going to my coffees and my lunches, or doing office trainings with realtors, or doing a TV show, or doing a podcast. Like, that is my highest and best use. I hate to break it to any loan officer listening that thinks that they're the best originator in the world and they can put together the best package. But every single person in my office has never worked in the mortgage business until I hired them. And I don't touch a file.
Mm-hmm.
I don't touch anything. I don't have an Encompass login. I mean, I have one, but I don't know what it is. I
Right.
don't get into Optimal Blue and price loans. Very rarely. I hate email. I don't check my, like, everyone at corporate knows that if you want me, you have to text me. Because it
Yes.
will be days before I see an email that you send me. Because nothing I do is time sensitive. Marketing is, I mean, I've got my own timeline, but it's not
Right.
a loan timeline. So I just don't communicate through email. If you want
Mhm.
me, text me. But that's because I have a team that's doing all that, because I know what my highest and best use is. And if you don't know that, you need to get with a coach or get with a mentor or somebody and figure that out. Like, right now is the time to figure that out. Because you've got to
Yes.
do it. You
Yes.
can't fix problems in 2021. Problems were not getting fixed in 2021. They were being bandaged to get through.
Exactly.
Now is the time that companies need to fix their problems. Loan officers need to fix their problems. Teams need to fix their problems,
Mhm.
because you have the time to do it.
And fixing their problems in a market like this, the first thing they need to do is get more loans in the door.
Yes.
And in order to do that, they need to be able to focus. So even if they don't have a team, like they don't have an assistant, they still need to manage their time in
Yes.
blocks of time. So talk about how you did that before you had an assistant to do that. How did you manage bringing loans in and working on the loans at the same time? I know that was a long time ago, but but you remember.
Yes. So I did have a processor. I had a partner back then. So he did that part. But like, as far as my sales activities, I time blocked in the morning. I did, from 9 to 11, I did my calls, and every day of the week of what those calls were that we have with the DSP. That was what I did. And then I did my lunches and coffees. And then I worked on administrative stuff in the afternoon.
That's it.
And it's really that simple. Like,
It
it really,
is. It's
really is. Sticking to it is the hard part.
That's what I was just going to say. It's sticking to it. So one of the things that I always like to remind people when I'm coaching them is use a alarm system. Like, get your phone and set an alarm for like 15 minutes before you're supposed to start making your calls. You're sitting there doing other things. You're not going to remember because it's not a habit yet. So that'll jolt you. Oh yeah, I better start getting ready to make my calls. And then 5 minutes before the calls, you have that alarm. Every Monday through Thursday, you've got that alarm ringing to remind you, because it's not a habit yet.
No. And what do you have to do it? 21 times or something to make it a habit, I think.
Yes. Yep.
So, and that's not that long. That's 3 weeks.
It's not very long. No.
Well, I guess it might be a month, I guess, of work days, but it's a month. And in our office, we have a saying: you can do anything for 30 days.
Yes, you can.
Tell borrowers that all the time. If they want to quit their job, or they want to do this or do that, like switch jobs, you can do anything for 30 days. Do you want this house?
Mm-hmm.
It's save money, because maybe their money's cash and they don't have down payment money other than cash. So for 30 days, take that money that you're getting for your paycheck, don't touch it, and use your other money. 30 days, you can do that. We've told people, do you need to do a monster every day? Because the difference in your payment is that monster every day. 30 days, you think for 30 days, like those things. I think that's one thing too, the Freedom Club taught me, was breaking things down into small bites.
Yes.
Because when you look at a problem, right? It is Mount St. Helens for old people from the 80s. Remember that volcano? It's the biggest thing in the world. It's a mammoth. You'll never defeat it when you look at it head on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's break that down. So let's say your problem is a branch, and your branch account, maybe you're negative, right? And so you have to break it down into, okay, so what can I charge per loan that will help make that up, plus still make my money going forward to keep the branch going? Like, it's all about math. Like, every problem can be solved with math, just about.
Mm-hmm.
And so we start breaking those things down. Or maybe it's, I don't have enough realtors, right? So you start looking at, okay, if I'm going to get, 5 referrals from one agent a month, let's just say I get 5 at bats, and I'm only going to be able to get probably 2 of those qualified. how many do I need to, and I'll get one of those to say yes.
Yes.
Right? So for every agent, let's just say you're going to get one. So
Mhm.
how many agents do I have to give me that 5 to get me to that one out the bottom of the funnel?
Yep.
And okay, okay, let's say it's 10. You want to do 10 loans a month. You need 10 agents. So, okay, well, you're not going to get, everyone's not going to say yes. So
Mhm.
maybe you need to call 30 agents to get 10 to say yes. Like when you start breaking it down, it's not near as much as you think it is. It's very small incremental things that get you to the big end.
It is.
But it's breaking it down. And my kids, like after I learned that, I drove my kids crazy with that. Like everything is broken down into that now. Like,
Yes.
okay, what you want? Okay, let's go backwards. Let's work that backwards to see where you got to start.
Mhm.
And it's really the only way to do things. That
It's a
is
great principle to
for
teach your
human
kids.
brain to be able to manage it and
Yes.
not be discouraged and not and you when you break it down, you're getting those little wins every day and it
Mhm.
keeps you going. And
Yes.
so and I think too, I say this all the time, there's only 2 choices in any situation. Only 2. I don't care what anybody says, there are only 2 choices. You're either going to do it or you're not.
That's
Now,
the truth.
if you're going to do it, there's 1,000 ways to do it. And I acknowledge that. But let's start with the first decision. The first decision is, are you going to do it or not? Because I think everybody gets caught up in, if I'm going to make a decision, the 1,000 ways to do it. Well, you haven't even decided to do it yet. So why waste the time on how to do it if you don't even want to do it?
Right. You have to be committed.
Yes. So let's decide first, do you want to do it? Yes. Okay. Well, then let's come up with 10 ways to do it. And then you'll pick the one that works.
Mhm.
But I think that everybody gets overwhelmed with all the possibilities. So that they don't do anything.
They're like paralyzed in fear.
And that is a
Mhm.
choice. That's a no. So I think that for me, when I tell people that, like, there's only 2 choices, it kind of helps, like, again, you're paring it down, right? Okay, let's start with, are you going to do it or not? Because that is really where you got to start.
Yes.
And
And it's so simple, isn't it?
everything really is simple if you just
Yes.
break it down into little bite-sized pieces.
Yeah. I like the way you talk about breaking it down like that. That's really important to do. So what's a habit that you've had, Jen, for a while now that makes you successful, that helps you focus on the things that you're really, really good at? Now, I know you have a lot of fun. You make things fun, and that's a personality thing. You do make things fun, but anyone can make anything fun if they decide what they want to do and then just do that. Just do that little sliver that makes you really, really successful. How do you focus as an originator? How do you focus?
I love it, for one. What makes the phone ring is what I love to do, which is
Mhm.
marketing. But I think that for me, again, it goes back to the team. Having a team that enables me to just do those things has been so big. But
Yes.
I think that you have to know what even makes your phone ring. I think that sometimes people don't really know. I didn't until I got, into the Freedom Club and had a plan and had a system. I didn't really know what was making it ring. And
Mhm.
so start really looking at it and with a coach or mentor and deciding, okay, I got this result from this activity. Then you start, okay, well, this worked. Well, that one didn't. So I think for me, like being able to have kind of that overview to look at what I used to hate to look at, which is reports of like where our loans come from, like tracking. That's probably the one habit I would say is tracking. If you don't track, there is no way to know where to spend your time or your money.
No.
And maybe you're not spending a lot of money right now, but you're spending time. So if you're spending time with an unqualified agent, which probably has shifted in the past 6 months from who you were chasing last year, probably is not who you're going to be chasing this year.
That's for sure.
And so if you're not tracking where your leads are coming from, you don't know how to spend your time and your money. And you used to coach Tony Perry Jr. He works at my company with me, and he came over and spent a couple of days, and he's like, man, you track everything. Like, and I have to, like, I spend a lot of money on marketing. So I have to know, did this work? Did that work? Did this campaign work? Did that campaign work? Like, I have to know that stuff. And if I don't track it, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sexy. It's not anything that like I get all fired up about, but I'm old school. So like, they give me a report on an Excel spreadsheet, and Tyler Osby saw me do it in Tahoe. Like, I take that spreadsheet and I hash mark, like I have realtors, radio, social media, TV show. Like I have all my little categories and I hash mark. I go through and I hash mark where every single lead came from. Because for me, I have to write things down, make them stick. And so I go through that Excel spreadsheet and put it on paper where every lead came from for the last quarter.
That's
and then,
so critical.
And I know what to do.
Yes.
And where to spend my money and my time. And so that habit of doing that every quarter has really, really been good for me. I used to, we have Encompass now, but when we had Calyx Point, I got a report every morning. And it was for every credit that was pulled the day before, what their score was. I had all their scores in it. And I could tell from that what ads were working.
Oh, yeah.
If I got a bunch of low scores, I'm talking too much about credit repair. So I need to stop talking about that and talk about other things. Like that kind of stuff is crucial in running a business. Even if you're a single loan officer, it is crucial to know if what you're talking about is dictating the kind of lead you're getting.
Boy, and it does, doesn't it? I used to be known as the queen of the hard to do loans. The first few years I was in the business, probably the first 10 years I was in the business. And everybody called me with their hard to do loans. And I loved rescuing everybody. And I loved getting people in a home. But what happens is it takes a lot of time to do that. And you're really happy to help people. But what could you be going and getting if you're not spending time doing that? Because time is money.
Yeah, I tell agents, I'm like, I'll help you with your hard deals, but I do the easy ones too.
Yes, that's it. That's it. So give us a parting word of wisdom for this time that we're in, November of 2022 right now. Anybody listening to this in the future will remember what it was like if they were an originator at the time. But what's one parting word of wisdom that you could give us for this time in the market?
I think that any market like this, I truly believe this is when generational wealth is made. I think there were more millionaires probably made in 8, 9, and 10 than any other time in history.
I agree.
And it's looking at everything. I don't look at things very negatively. Not that I can't be a negative person, because I can at times, but I see every negative as something that I can turn into a positive. And so I think that that's really, really important right now, is keeping that mindset and surrounding yourself with really good people. That if you have a team, if you have somebody that is negative and that's a kind of a cancer in the team, now's the time to get rid of them.
Absolutely.
Now, times like this, you cannot tolerate any kind of negativity in a branch. And if it's somebody that you want to keep and they're not typically like that, then have a conversation. If it's somebody that's always negative, they might need to go. I think managing the mindset of your team, if you have a team, and of yourself, obviously, is super, super important right now. And I think we get so caught up in any kind of downturn and like panic mode that we don't realize that we can control what happens to us. It's my choice every day to get up and do the activity that causes the phone to ring.
Yes.
And anybody listening to this can do the same thing, whether that be calling agents, calling referral partners, calling past clients. That will make your phone ring if you do it. Whether if you market, whether you're doing radio or doing whatever, like doing things on social, like doing the things that make the phone ring is all within your control. So this market is really not out of your control, because people are still buying houses.
Yes, they are.
People are still refinancing, because we're closing refinance loans too.
Yes.
So this nonsense of nobody's refinancing, anytime somebody says all or nobody or nothing, I'm just like, okay, you're wrong. I'm not even listening to you, because there's never all of anything. It's never all bad. It's never all good. That's just not reality. And so, if somebody starts saying, oh, well, there's no this kind of loan, or I had one of my coaching clients tell me a few months ago, well, there was no loans. I was like, really? Not one single transaction closed in your county last month? Oh, yeah, but they're half cash. Okay, what about the other half? I mean, there are always deals to be found. Yes, there are. You got to get out and find them, and you've got to do an activity to find them. They're not going to call you because, like, oh, Irene's so pretty, I think I'll just call her. It doesn't work that way, does it? You don't know what you do unless you tell them what you do, which requires activity. Yes. And you have to be committed to the activity. It's either commitment or it's not.
Like you said, it's either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it. And so commitment is the big thing. And then the discipline to carry through with that commitment and follow through with it and have a plan. And that's what we do in the Freedom Club is the DSP, the Daily Success Plan. And there's a whole plan of how to do it. It's just being committed to making sure it's done. Yeah. I am so proud of you, Jen. It has been such a fun journey for the last 12 months to see how we both were back in 2010 and how we are now and all the things that we've learned, and we've learned them together.
Yes.
And it's been really, really fun. And I'm just so grateful for you.
People don't realize about a coaching organization is that, we are both coaches now, and you originally started the Freedom Club. It was your idea, but it's not obviously where we started, but the friendships that we have made through the years with people that, maybe they're still in the club, maybe they're not, but we're still friends with them. Like we've made such lifelong friendships in this business and it's all centered around this club of people. And so I think people don't realize that part of it too.
Yes. It's a big part of getting together and being with friends. It's like a reunion every time we get together. It's so fun. Yes, and I just love it. And I love the way you have handled your team. If anybody wants to hear Jen's podcast, oh my gosh, she has some really good podcasts, 2 of them that I know of that are really, really good. But the Loan Officer Unplugged is a really good one to listen to. She heads that podcast, and I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to you on that Unplugged. And I thought that's a perfect name for Jen. She's unplugged. But thank you so much for being here and for just the friendship over the years and the example that you've been. And your story is so inspiring to so many people, just where you came from, where you are now, and where you're headed. It's not just where you are now, it's where you're headed as well. But I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate that so much. It means so much from you.
And I'm just grateful that you're here today. And thank you for sharing with everybody your story and your ideas. And because you are a top producer. And so what you say matters because you live it every single day. And so I'm just grateful that you were here with me today. So thank you so much. Yeah, it was fun. So we'll do it again. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for listening today. We appreciate you listening to Loan Officer Team Training. If you enjoyed this today, please share it with a few other loan officers that you know. And we sure would appreciate a 5-star review that will help us get this podcast seen by more people that it can benefit. And we would love to hear your feedback. If you're a loan officer, branch manager, or owner of a mortgage company, please take a look at the training that we offer for your teams at loanteamtraining.com. Once again, thanks so much for being here today, and we'll see you next week.